stays with me everywhere. When demons fill me up inside in my darkest nights, I close my eyes and see your light.
Hi everybody, I hope you're doing marvellously well. I'd like to tell you about a new course that our good friend Mr. Kristian Kohle has done over at Kohle Audio Cult. Now believe it or not, it is, yes, an acoustic guitar course. Now you might ask yourself, what does Kristian death metal, heavy metal, Kohle know about acoustic guitars? Well, apparently quite a lot. This course contains big, lush, open, beautiful acoustics. But it also contains acoustic guitars fit into a metal world and how you can best utilize them to actually enhance your metalness. So without further ado, let's check out some of Kristian's course.
And now it's time to work on a heavy metal mix. Finally, I want to show you how to integrate acoustic guitars into a dense metal mix. Let's go. Let's have a look at the song, at the arrangement we are working on. This song comes from the Metal Vocal Battle contest that we did inside Kohle Audio Cult, and we are talking about the chorus. I have muted the acoustic guitars. Let's just have a listen to the chorus. And this for me is a perfect part for some nice drumming acoustic guitars. I have actually recorded a shaker, which sounds like this. And I'm gonna mute the shaker for now because it's gonna be replaced by the acoustic guitars, and I don't want to add like any conflicts in the high end between the acoustic guitars and the shaker. So that's muted now. And I've recorded the acoustic guitars with two different microphones, two alternative mic positions that we can try. The first one is right here where the neck meets the body. Sounds like this. And I've got another microphone on the other side of the guitar facing the bridge of the guitar. Sounds like this. Just as expected, it sounds fuller, more mid-rangey, but also way darker than our microphone over here. Let's just switch a few times between the two. But what I want to do is I want to try to make both mic positions work. The second one needs a little more processing, a little more EQ, but I'm not sure which one's going to sound better in the end. Let's just try. Obviously, I want to start with the mic position that sounds closer to what I want in the end, and that is the first one with the microphone over here, mainly because it has a lot of high frequencies, and it should be quite easy to integrate this one into our mix. Let's just have a listen. And it's already kind of like doing the right thing, doing a good job replacing the shaker with some kind of airy percussive groove. But the problem is I can't hear it clear enough, and it sometimes comes and goes, and it just doesn't really sit right. First thing I want to do is open up an EQ. So Pro Q. The first thing we can do is we can remove some of the low end because we basically don't need it. And that seems right to me. I'm removing everything below, 330. I'm not missing anything yet. I don't want to make them too thin, so that seems to be a good compromise. All right, now it's time to boost to higher frequencies, and we've got quite a few options here. Let's just solo the guitars and have a listen. I usually prefer not to use a shelving filter because the very high frequencies sometimes sound a little too plastic to my ears. So I usually go for a pretty wide bell instead. Let's have a listen. And now the question is, do we want to push the very highs? Do we want to push the higher mids? And that is a question of context. So let's just turn on the other instruments and have a listen. If I do this, it clearly makes the acoustic guitar audible, but I gotta say it adds this plastic feel that I don't like. I'm also hearing something nasty up there, and I can hear some conflicts, I think, with the crash cymbals. So in general, those very high frequencies above 10K do a good job of bringing the acoustic guitar in your face, but there's always a risk that it sounds too plastic and not really like an acoustic guitar anymore. So let's just bring it down to maybe 6 or 5K. And this is much nicer. Even if the guitar doesn't sound that direct anymore, it sounds much more like a real acoustic guitar. And I can see around 5.5K. I love how this boosts the pick attack of the guitar compared to the plastic sounding higher frequencies. This is very nice. Now, how much do we want? Well, just bring it up until you feel the acoustic guitars come close enough. I might even bring down the very highs a little bit. Now it's time to talk about the dynamics, because they still sound too dynamic for me. Some of the chords go here, some of them go there. It's also my playing that is maybe not stable enough. So let's fix that with a compressor. And I want to have the compressor after the EQ, mainly because we have removed all the low frequencies already. That means the compressor is not going to react that much to lower frequencies. So let's open up an instance of Pro C2 to make this very easy. And this is important. You see, I have two instances. So I'm not using a stereo compressor for those two guitars. I'm using an individual mono compressor on each guitar. You really want those compressors to work independently. You don't want one guitar to compress the other one. And what we want is a transparent compression. We want to even out my performance and to make it more stable, but we don't want this to sound like effect compression or anything. And I do like the classic mode in Pro C for acoustic guitars. And the first thing I noticed is that the compressor is still listening too much to the lower frequencies. You always want a compressor to listen to what you are listening to. And now, right now, when I switch between different chords, there's different amounts of low end, which trigger the compressor differently. And I don't want that. I want the compressor to listen to just the high strumming, to the high frequency attack. So let's open up the sidechain and add a low cut here, so the compressor is not hearing the low frequencies anymore. And this already relaxes the compression and makes it more transparent. Actually pretty nice already, up to 6 dB of compression, but it sounds very transparent. Now let's fine tune the attack and the release time. We want the attack to be rather fast on strumming acoustic guitars, actually very fast. Many people also like using 1176s, but we don't want it to kill our transient. It actually sounds pretty good, maybe a little too fast. This sounds good to me, 3-4 milliseconds. I feel that I'm not choking anything. Now let's talk about the release time. Usually if you want transparent compression, you want to have a fast release time, because the longer the release time, the more pumping you will introduce, which can be great on drum room tracks, but not here. So we want it to be fast, but if you go too fast, you can either introduce distortion, which I think is not going to happen here because we don't have a lot of low end. But if you go too fast, you don't really have an effect anymore. So let's have a listen and find a sweet spot. You see, like this, there's nothing happening anymore. That sounds good to my ears. Let's play a little bit with the threshold just to see how much compression we can add. So now it goes back almost to 0 during the sustain of the chords. The ratio is 4:1, fine to me. And now let's bypass the compressor and compare this to the uncompressed signal. It's getting a little louder, but focus on how much more stable the whole performance now sounds. Compared to this. This actually makes me a much better guitarist. It's maybe a little too grabby, so I might just lower the ratio a little bit. So we have an average of 3 dB of compression, going up to maybe 5 dB on the very loud strums. Let's have a listen to this in the mix. And that's a night and day difference to me. It really locks the acoustic guitar into their place. Without the compressor, you can hear them come and go, and with the compressor, they are really stable, but it doesn't sound like compression. That's exactly what we wanted.
Like a fresh breath of air, the breeze that gets caught in my hair stays with me everywhere, stays with me everywhere. When demons fill me up inside in my darkest nights, I close my eyes and see your light, and see your light.
Thanks everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. It's always nice when you see a man of metal like Mr. Kristian Kohle demonstrating acoustic guitars. How lovely. Unicorns and rainbows and acoustic guitars. The guitar course itself is very inexpensive. You can get this course as a standalone course for $29, or you can join the Kohle audio cult and get the course included. Thanks everyone. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, au revoir, adios, tschüss, goodbye.